Chapter 3. I wandered through the crowded cafeteria a few days later, looking for Sarah or Megan or David. All around me, kids shouted, laughed, and joked, filling the room with noise. I relaxed a little. For once, this school feels normal, I thought. All week, I felt like an exhibit in a zoo, everyone staring at the new girl. Then I spotted Laura and Maggie. Maggie seemed to be Laura's sidekick or something. I'd never seen her even talking to anyone else. It was pathetic. Clutching my tray, I passed Laura and Maggie's table. "Just wait," Laura murmured. "Just wait until the 10th. My hands began to shake. This time I knew I hadn't imagined it. Was Laura threatening me? What would happen on the 10th? I knew June 10th was Pete's birthday, but I still didn't know who Pete was. I didn't know what to do. My hand shook so hard, I was afraid I'd drop my tray in the middle of the lunchroom. Then I saw someone waving to me from across the room. A skinny boy with curly black hair. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care. I had to do something. Anything. I wanted to get away from Laura and Maggie as fast as possible, so I hurried toward the boy. "Hi," he said. "Want to sit with me?" "Sure," I replied. I still didn't know who the boy was, but he seemed to know me. "I guess I scared you the other day," the boy said. "Sorry about that. It's like my costume takes over my personality." I stared at him. What was he talking about? "By the way," he went on, picking up a sandwich, "my name's Lucas." Lucas? I thought. It sounded familiar. "Oh, yes, Lucas, the boy with the bloody head." "I'm Randy," I told him. "I didn't recognize you at first. I mean, without blood dripping down your face." Lucas laughed. "Are you coming to see the play?" he asked me. "It's during the last week of school." "Sure," I said. "What's it about?" "It's a Sherlock Holmes mystery," Lucas answered. "The guy who plays Sherlock keeps messing up his lines. You know David Slater?" "Yeah, he's in my class." "He's the star of the play," Lucas said. "But he's terrible. I don't know why they picked him." I opened my brown lunch bag and pulled out an apple. I like to eat my dessert first. "That's too bad," I said between bites. I glanced across the room and caught Laura and Maggie watching me. They quickly turned their heads away. "So where do you live?" Lucas asked. "On Fear Street," I replied. "Really? I live on Fear Street too. Don't listen to the stories people tell about it. I've lived there all my life, and nothing bad's ever happened to me." "Stories? What stories?" I asked. Lucas shrugged. "People tell these crazy stories about Fear Street, probably because of the name." "It is a creepy name for a street," I admitted. "You know the cemetery down the road?" Lucas said. "Some kids say it's haunted. My next-door neighbor told me he was riding his bike past there just before dark. He said a tall woman suddenly appeared and blocked his path, but he didn't have time to stop. He slammed on the brakes, but it was too late." "What happened? Was she hurt?" "That's the weird part," Lucas told me. "He says, if you believe him, that his bike went right through her, as if she were made of air." "Wow. Was she a ghost?" Lucas rolled his eyes. "Who knows? I think he was just trying to scare me. I've never seen any ghosts around there myself." I unwrapped my turkey sandwich but didn't bite into it. I'm sure Lucas is right, I thought. People just like to tell scary stories. But I couldn't help feeling uncomfortable. The name Fear Street had to come from something bad that happened there, didn't it? I tilted my head back to catch the sunlight on my face. It felt good to be outside after a long day cooped up in school. I walked home alone down Hawthorne Drive. My backpack, filled with all my new school books, hung heavily from my shoulders. I'll use these books for a month, and then school's over, I thought. It's kind of stupid. Deep, thick woods stretched out on my right, all the way to Fear Street, where I lived. I could cut through the woods, I thought. It's probably the quickest way home. I stepped off the sidewalk and into the woods. Darkness and quiet seemed to fall upon me like a blanket. The warm sunlight vanished. I suddenly felt chilly. The hair rose on my arms. I rubbed them, shivering. "It's so quiet in here," I thought, glancing around the tall trees and thick shrubs. No chirps or peeps or animal screeches. Why aren't there any birds or squirrels? I found a little dirt path that seemed to take me in the right direction. I trudged along the path. The only sound was the crunch of twigs and leaves under my feet. Crunch, 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 crunch. I walked for 10 minutes before the woods began to thin. I must be getting near the street again, I thought with relief, but I didn't hear the sounds of cars or people. I came to a large clearing. Slabs of stone rose out of the ground. Gravestones. It's a cemetery, I realized. I felt cold again. Don't get scared, I scolded myself. The street is on the other side of the cemetery, just beyond the woods. You're almost home. No big deal, I thought. So you're walking through a cemetery. So what? Think of the facts. After all, there are only dead people. Dead people can't hurt you because they're dead, right? I hurried past crumbling stone markers without stopping to read the names on them. I should be almost to my street, I thought. Still, the only sound I heard was the crackle of twigs under my feet. Crunch, 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 crunch. But then I thought I heard another sound, a sound I didn't want to hear. I froze, listening. I scanned the cemetery and the woods beyond. I didn't see anyone. Nothing moved, not even the leaves. I walked on. Crunch, 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 crunch. And then I heard it again. What was it? I stopped. Waited. Nothing. Warily watching the edge of the woods, I took a sideways step. Something brushed my backpack. Oh! I screamed and wheeled around. I saw a wrinkled old face laughing at me. An old man. No. A statue. The statue of a dead old man, sitting on top of his grave. Laughing like a maniac. Laughing at me, I thought. I've got to get out of here. I picked up my pace. Crunch, 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 crunch. But I heard it again. A giggle or a laugh. A boy's laugh. And footsteps right behind me.